From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report. This weekend, I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what's in store over the next 60 minutes. Soybean prices soar, adding fuel to the acreage debate. Optimism in cattle country.
We think the markets will trend higher, generally speaking, as the year progresses.
That's as the industry works to address lingering issues, and we'll have complete coverage from NCBA's annual convention. 7 weeks since wildfires tore through Kansas, it's a story of survival.
A lot of people don't see how much you affect other people's lives until your funeral. And they said, basically, you got to attend your funeral, but you're still alive to tell about it.
But from the ashes has come hope, as we show you in Grit with Grace. And in John's world,
inflation is up, but it's complicated.
Now for the news, a monster winter storm crossing several thousand miles and impacting 19 states this week. That storm bringing some much needed moisture to many areas. The storm brought a mix of rain, freezing rain, snow to central U.S. Airlines canceled thousands of flights and officials urged people to stay off the roads. The blast of frigid weather began arriving Tuesday night. It put a stretch of states from New Mexico and Colorado to Maine under winter storm warnings and watches. Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan saw freezing rain, sleet, and snow. The heaviest snow in parts of Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois. But it's not all bad, as that wet weather was welcome news for some areas where the winter wheat crop was in poor shape. Condition ratings for the crop fell last week, especially in Kansas and Oklahoma. In Kansas, just 30% of the crop is rated good to excellent. That's down 3 percentage points from the start of the month. Much of the plains continuing to just be engulfed in drought. And in Texas, 0% of the crop is actually rated in excellent condition and only 6% is in good condition. One Texas farmer telling us that they desperately need moisture as they haven't seen rain since they planted the crop in November.
It's super dry, no sub moisture. Our wheat, it's as dry as I've ever seen it this time of year at this stage. We actually, in our last cold spell, we lost some tillers, some viable tillers. We've got real cold forecast coming Thursday morning, and if we don't get moisture ahead of it, which they do have some forecasted, I'd say our wheat's pretty much toast. I don't think it'll make it. I mean, we've got 1-inch cracks in our wheat, which maybe it's happened before, but I sure don't remember it at this stage.
Kimbrell says they are drier at this point in the growing season than they were in 2011 and 2012. He did see some moisture this week in the storm, but only about an inch. And soybean prices soared this week, well above the $15 mark. Prices pushed up thanks to analysts slashing their estimates for Brazil's soybean crop, and traders believe that will mean more export demand will come to the U.S. But outside money is also flowing in as funds find interest in commodities like soybeans. Analysts tell me that if prices continue to soar, it could end up buying more acres in the U.S., and we'll cover that in our marketing discussion coming up. Well, new cattle inventory numbers out this week showed the cattle herd is shrinking. USDA reporting the nation's cattle herd shrank by 2% last year, with the total number of cattle and calves on farms and in feedlots estimated at just under 92 million head. The beef cow herd also declining by 2% to 30.1 million. That's a 7-year low. Heifers intended for replacement fell about 3% for both dairy and beef. The all cattle on feed total 14.7 million head, up slightly from last year. The total inventory and beef cow numbers both lower than what the industry analyst had expected, but the cattle on feed number was higher, and we'll have a complete look at that from NCBA's annual convention later on the show. It's meant as a show of support of NATO allies feeling threatened by Russia's military movements near Ukraine. Farmers around the world closely watching the situation there because Russia and Ukraine account for 29% of global wheat exports. Both nations are also key gateways for grain exports. A U.S. farmer we spoke with recently took part in a no-till conference in Ukraine, and he told us many there don't think an invasion will happen.
The first thing they told us right off the bat was there's a 99.9% chance Russia will not be invading. The feeling we got from the people there is in the meeting with over 200 farmers, I would say over 199 of them will die defending the rights of Ukraine. Because they have experienced Soviet rule and they have a taste of freedom.
Another place where tensions are rising, Canada. That's as truckers continue to protest vaccine mandates that went into effect last month. The mandates require truckers to be vaccinated before crossing the border. And take a look at this. This is a blockade near Alberta. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police saying the blockade was impacting the flow of goods and services. Well, widespread winter weather blanketed much of the country this week, as you saw. As the latest drought monitor actually grew even drier, we'll have a check of weather coming up right after the break.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.